So I've been wanting to adapt my large collection of biology homework questions from kind of a Blackboard format to using LibreTexts ADAPT, which kind of uses like a WeBWorK type format here. At least the way I've adapted them. That seems to be probably the best format for working with biology problems. But first, I really needed a good sandbox tester for WeBWorK. So I took the WeBWorK PG renderer. Oh gosh, I thought I had the page up, but I do not. I have too many repositories. Apologies. That's a WeBWorK. That's a WeBWorK. That's there, guys. So yeah, so I took the WeBWorK PG renderer, um, which installs itself via Doctor. It's not the easiest thing to set up, but I expanded it and modernized it, and now I have this nice thing where I can drop in WeBWorK questions, render the question, um, and if I want to go into debug mode, this is where all the nitty gritty nuts and bolts generated HTML stuff exists if you want to try and figure out what's going wrong. And that was really critical for me, and especially using AI agents. So, and it just kind of runs on my local computer, localhost 3000 here. So, but since about November last year, November 2025, AI coding agents have really transformed how I write computer code. To tell you the truth, I really don't write computer code much anymore, but I program all day. It's vibe coding is really taken over. And one of the deals is that ChatGPT is just literally terrible at writing WeBWorK questions. Let's do an example here. Um, Write a simple WeBWorK question asking my favorite color, where the answer is blue. All right, so I am on ChatGPT 5.2 auto, where it kind of decides like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that. Oh, no. The last few times I did it, actually set show partial correct answers to one, which means turn. I mean, is there a partial correct? Like if I guess green, is that close to blue? I don't know. So let's see if it works. So I'm going to copy this and then go back to my renderer here, and error. And you can actually go back and forth with ChatGPT on this, and eventually it'll convince you that your renderer is broken and that it is correct. Uh, but for the most part, ChatGPT just cannot do it. Claude Code, on the other hand, actually is pretty successful. But this is like the easiest question. If I Google PGML multiple choice example, it's the number two hit is literally oh sorry, I guess it's not the number two hit. I did this on DuckDuckGo, so I know the number nine hit on DuckDuckGo. Um, so I have to scroll all the way down. Number nine. Oh gosh, really? Oh, here, multiple choice of radio buttons. This is literally the example question. My favorite color is blue, right? So it has this information on the internet to grab from, but it just gets confused with all the Perl out there because PG WebWorks like Perl, but not quite. So what did I do? So I mean, this is like the worst part of programming. You're stuck debugging someone else's code, which is not what you want to do. So what I've done is, and probably the best example is like Claude code. I guess Codex works okay. It's a little bit slower. Um, well, since I'm sticking to OpenAI, we'll stick with Codex here. So this is the Codex app. I have a WebWork Codex form here, and I've written a skill which is invoked with $sign here called WebWork Writer, which basically gives it a whole bunch of documentation it can use on how to write good WebWork questions because it's really needed. And it actually is able to connect itself to the renderer um, to confirm that its code actually works. It's obsessed with finding other files on my file system to use to cheat. So, but we'll see if it gets up a valid thing. This is not the quickest thing. I'm going to show a more complicated example here that I launched 11 minutes ago, and Claude is still thinking about it. So, all right. So here, favorite color blue. I think it was able to test it. We'll find out. So let's go back to my renderer. Bam. It's gotten a lot longer, and it's actually using PGML format, where it was kind of using a hacky format before. It didn't quite work. I really don't want to have to debug this some more, but I don't want to spend. Oh yeah, so you can't use mize. It should know that. But yeah, who wants to sit here and debug code? For today, I'm going to try and pretend. But what if I want to write a more challenging question than what is my favorite color? I was teaching my students last week on isoelectric points of amino acids. This kind of fancy curve. It's the point where there's no charge. And they really, when I posted this up on the slides, I'm like, which one has the neutral, or what's the PI here? And they're like, I don't know. I got like 50 glazed eyes looking back at me, and I'm like, this would be a great question to add to adapt. I do have a working copy of it, but um, for example, here I just kind of show random amino acid, different charges. You should be able to add a plus and a minus, cancel out to say there's no net charge, and then figure out what the PI is based on a titration curve was my idea. So I wrote up a prompt, and fairly detailed. I was give this whole prompt to ChatGPT here. I want you to write a two-part question from scratch. Amino acid isoelectric points. Part one: student selects hypothetical amino acid with 3 pKa values. This is the repo is empty. It's a fresh project. But the thing is, it has all these documents to consult because ChatGPT wants to use kind of its own random function, which is not how WeBWorK wants, right? Um, I was able to fire up um, Codex earlier. I don't think I had to have. I mean, it's not something I can really do live in a video. But basically, I gave it the prompt. I gave it a picture. I told it to load my skill. I told it that all the documents it needs is in the skill, so please don't search my hard drive. So, blah, blah, blah. So I have enough guidance to implement the problem now. I've created a new problem. I'll also change log entry. The problem that I'm now running the local renderer, and oops, I had some problems. Up seeds problems. The problem. Yeah, I don't want to have to debug all that. Let it do it. All right, so let's see how its final code came out. So I'm going to open up the thing and then paste it back into my renderer here. I'm going to use my local renderer. So, and it's kind of nice. It properly tags the question now with things. It looks like what strategy to use. I don't know. I mean, can you even read that code really? But does it work? It does. I found that the choice on the states is a little bit harder to read. I could use maybe some color. I guess that's probably the correct one there. And if we know choice 2 is the proper one, we can say the PI is probably between these two values. So somewhere around 3.2 should be the correct answer. And I got 100%. So that's one way. Oh, it looks like Claude is finally getting back to me. So you have to have patience when working with these AI things. I launched this at 15 minutes ago. It came back and asked some questions about how I wanted to do it. It's not clear to me if it is. No, well, it hasn't given me a file. It still says tinkering. So, but it's better for it to kind of sit there and struggle, getting the problem correct than me sitting there to struggle. You can see it's kind of sending the problem to the local renderer to verify. So, will it do a good job? I don't know. But I did try this earlier, and it did finish eventually. But I did delete its code. So, kind of like that. It was very similar kind of rendering to the one that came out into my problem here. The graph options available in WeBWorK are, I mean, they're not the greatest. There's some classic ways using LaTeX and stuff. And now it's asking for permission to run the renderer, which means that Claude's probably going to take another 15 to 20 minutes to solve the question. So I'm going to pause. I know where it's stuck. Should I help give it some guidance? Tell it to read the skill again? I literally have a document on how to render HTML correctly. It's complaining that it can't. Oh, I found the PG common pitfalls. Oh, I actually have a file I can test now. So let's see how Claude's version holds up to the Codex version. So it renders fine. Seems weird to have the states separate than the states selected, but cool. I'd recently just told it to add color, so it's just figuring that out. It did not read the documentation on how to add color to what it did just post an update. Oh, hey, we got blue nitrogens in one place. I don't know why it was like giving me like, here, let me put the net charge here. And then it asks, which one's net charge 0? And it's just like, yeah, no, it renders fine in WeBWorK 2. This is PG 2.17. And okay, it says CPCA colors are there and verified. Now, the thing is, you get into a cycle of back and forth. And so what I'm going to do is I can take a screenshot um, and share it is only the side chains are colored, not backbone. Should fix that part fairly quickly. I think when I was saying red and blue things, so I can hit the dice here and it gives me a different version of the problem. See, now here's the COOH version. So, but the idea is I'm really into kind of randomizing my questions. So the PKAs should vary between different versions. Um, so students just can't post them to Chegg. Of course, is this I ChatGPT probably can't write the question very well, but it can probably solve this question fairly easy. But that's not the point. All right, I just thought I'd share kind of my system for writing WeBWorK code using AI agent. Something you'd like to change about this? All charged groups. Sorry, I'm typing there. The video's over, but I'm just gonna you'll see how it kind of. I guess the question is, should we not color COOH and color COO minus? But if I look at the question now, you can see everything is um, rendered in color. Yeah, I'd probably do the neutral ones in like a gray color or something like that, so visually stands out more. I need to learn a lot more about accessibility, but I do like my color, um, and I do try to avoid red greens. Being in the Chicago area, I find the Bears colors work pretty well if contrast wise. So, right. So anyway, that's a one way to code a problem in WeBWorK. I did need to give it some guidance, so but all the tools are there to debug it at least. So I don't know need to know how to program. So